Andrew get permission to leave?
Oh no!
That's
Busted.
We gotta print up hall passes,
Yeah.
laminate them.
Not a substitute teacher.
Oh,
A
he's
substitute teacher
tenured.
doesn't care if you have
Yeah.
an excuse.
Oh, that's good.
You remember, like, that was the thing, like, kind of in high school you discover is you could tease a teacher, not realizing that you could actually affect how they feel.
Oh yeah.
They were not human to you.
Well, they became because you're like, oh man, like, we kept teasing so-and-so, now he feels bad.
That was the biggest thing I realized that really aided my career in school is that how much more you can screw around if you are nice to teachers.
And like nice off the record.
Oh
like,
yeah,
like,
no,
like
just be like, hey
between
man,
classes.
how you doing? He's like,
Yeah.
I'm great. Thank you. And it's like, hey, I didn't
All
do my
teachers
homework. And he's like,
Andrew
you're
Eaton.
fine. It's like, wow, just an ounce of humanity with all these other sociopaths running around.
I was late on the uptake on that. I only learned it in college and maybe like my third or fourth year. And I went in to go visit with the teacher, and I was like, "Hey, sorry, this is late." And he's like, "Well, let me just grade it right now." I was like, no, please don't read it. I'm willing to take whatever grade I get from a TA, but it would
Yeah.
make me sad if you saw how little effort I put into this."
And it's just, say no more, fam. Like, I'm going to read
I
it with his
didn't-
eyes closed. He just writes an A.
High school, I did not. I was a sociopath running around, and then finally, when I started taking like college classes, I realized that like if I'm nice to them, they're nice back. And like I took a psychology class. I was super nice to the teacher, and when she's like, "You need to come by my class like 7 p.m. on Tuesday." I'm like, well, "What did I do?" She goes, "It's all girls." I'm like I want you to. She's like, oh,
cute.
like, oh, she liked me. Like, oh, man, I'm like, great.
Damn.
And that was, I have an English teachers like that too. So it was like, oh, just be normal, be nice.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
Be normal, be nice.
Be normal, be nice.
But also,
Yeah.
like, that's a tall order to anybody in high school.
Oh,
Like,
God.
That's
I-
a lesson
I
that they
wanted
should
to
be
do
learning.
neither
That's
of
their
those
lesson
two
for them to
things.
learn.
I mean,
I
also,
was-
you should be nice is the easiest way to get to be normal. Like you can figure out be nice. You've been instructed on how to be nice since you were a kid. Normal is something that everybody's trying to like, oh, look at me. I'm a human man in high school.
My problem was like there was never an ounce of mean in me at all. Never an ounce of mean that ever wanted to make somebody feel bad or anything like that. But I was nice, but I was sarcastic and I was short.
Yeah.
Short-tempered, and
Yeah.
that was always my thing. Was just which equals mean. It's the last two.
Well, yeah. You realize that it doesn't matter what is internal, right? It matters what you are affecting the world with, and that is unfortunately what happens.
I mean, that's the dumbest thing in the world. Oh, I was gonna ask you to help me fix my car. No, I'll help you fix your car. But
Yeah.
you just said, well, that's separate. And like in my head, it makes sense. Like that's.
But yeah,
Autobiography of a
kids, be nice to
sociopath.
your teachers. You'll be shocked at how much you can not work if you are just nice to your teachers. It is a tremendous bargain for you to literally just say, "How was your weekend?" and they go, "It was great." Never do anything don't break a sweat. Everything you tried hard.
You're good. You're a good egg. There's
Yeah,
a
good egg.
There's a good egg value to grades.
Oh yeah. No, the worst you'll get is like if you just applied yourself and you're like, if you just stopped giving me B's.
Bees.
Oh yeah.
The business.
Zzz.
Ah!
I just want the honey.
I just want the honey.
Hello, everybody. You
Coupons.
guys want to do some weird things?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You feeling it, Andrew?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, I'll count you in then. Yeah. 3, 2.
Hello and welcome to the Weird Things podcast. I'm Ader Main, joined by Justin Robert Young,
Hello, friends.
Mr. Brian Brushwood,
Ahoy, mateys.
And the Highlander himself, the man who is here because he had to defeat somebody else apparently, and there were sparks of energy,
That's
Mr.
right.
Bryce Castillo.
I've absorbed Corey's energy. I'm ready to talk about cryptocurrencies and the Microsoft Surface tablet. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to me. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome back to you.
Hi, Bryce. Hi, Bryce. So a personal update that nobody cares about, but I will share with you. I had my second shot of Moderna on Wednesday.
Nice.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
And this is social proof to everybody else is deciding whether or not you want to get it. You know, we all did it. In interest of full disclosure, my girlfriend went through every one of the symptoms, of what you could go through. Like, I feel cold. That's the chills. Now I feel hot. Now you're going through fever. And then, she had it was bad for one night, and the next day she felt fine, nothing happened. I was achy.
Yeah,
and that was it.
Ashley had the same thing, and all we could think of was that scene in Walk Hard when they're parodying all the rehab scenes in music biopics, and it's just like, I'm cold, more blankets, like I'm hot, less blankets, like I'm cold and hot. We need more blankets and less blankets. And that was pretty much 24 hours, and then she was fine. It sounds like the same thing with your girlfriend.
So did you do anything in particular to celebrate afterwards?
Well, no,
I mean,
they have
every
another
day,
couple days before they're fully antibodied up.
You need.
right?
You're supposed to wait 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Technically.
I mean, we didn't do anything out of the normal, and even under an abundance of superstition and not science, because it's even before the second shot, we're still at 89 or 90% immunity,
Yeah.
but out of an abundance of I mean, we went out to eat with some friends yesterday, but they did the Johnson & Johnson a couple months ago. And so I've been around people more, and, because I know, second shot is what extenuates, as far as we understand, extends the immunity. But I'm like, well, after that first shot, after 2 weeks into the first shot, that's the thing, oh no, if the second shot, you're only 50%. I'm like, well, that data was taken over people the day after the shot and up to 2 weeks after the shot.
Yeah.
And if you look at people 7 days in, it goes up to 67% and then keeps climbing. So
that was that was a preliminary thing.
Approximately, everybody. Don't take my numbers as rule, please.
That was some data I remember coming out of England, because they were thinking of going just one shot, because they found one shot with a longer delay ended up being more effective. But I think that was not what they had applied for, and so at the time that they did not make that methodology.
Yeah, England, the only country to outpace us, I think.
Israel, them and Israel, yeah.
Yeah, and let's say of a country of a size of more than 50 million, was England, because they did the single shot. They would do the single, and then apparently that was to give everybody the first jab, and then as the second jab became available, do that, which was Biden had said we were going to do. And I was excited about that because we would have immunized people faster. But then the health of people were like, we don't know if people are going to go get their second shot. We don't know. And anyhow, we didn't.
We did. My brother actually came out and visited, and there was a question because he got a Moderna shot in Orlando, then was told that Orlando, or the Orange County health office, was switching to Pfizer. And so he was facing the possibility of having to restart his cycle by getting a Pfizer shot, then comes out and visits me, where apparently Austin City is all doing Moderna shots. And he was able to walk up to a clinic and get his second Moderna shot. And now he was in 2 states, one Moderna shot each.
Wow. Cool. I got my second shot was a couple of weeks ago. I ended up,
Here's to UPSs.
Well, we're offline. Hello. We just had a little bit of a power thing, so I'm gonna note that in my cards.
Yeah. Wait. So Andrew, can you still hear us?
Yes, I can.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that all of our stuff is going. I'm gonna take a quick pause here, and I have something to say, so we'll bring us back in.
Did Andrew have permission to leave?
Were you about to name the killer? Is that what happened? You were about to finally unmask them, and all of a sudden there was a lightning strike.
Oh my God! What happened to Eli?
We're big JC Denton.
There was only 4 hosts, and one had the motive.
Oh my goodness. And now that's me.
Ah!
Oh, it's a hand. Okay, very weird. Give us 1 second, everybody, just to bring up all of our stuff here. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh wait, are we back live? Or are you just talking to us about everybody?
I think we're live.
Are we live again?
I think the Twitch stayed up. I think the only thing that may have dropped is Andrew may have lost our video for a minute.
Oh, you think Twitch stayed up?
Yes.
Oh.
Because that should
Oh,
be on
you know what?
on a different
It's actually
circuit.
showing me the Wi-Fi at least is. Oh, you know what? If
It's on a different circuit.
yeah, the Eero would have been on a different shenanigan.
Well, and also the streaming computer's on a different circuit as well.
Yeah.
I'm told. Okay. Everybody good? We're all good? Ready back to do it?
Ready?
Okay. I got my second shot a couple weeks back, right before it opened up to kind of everybody, and I ended up getting Pfizer, but I had to go to San Antonio both times to go get that shot. But it was easy. I did it through HEB, the grocery store chain around here, and it was a breeze. You walk in, they give you the form, they automatically sign you up for the next shot. It was easy, but I did not know Austin was a Moderna town.
Yeah, no, there's a place right around the corner, and it's a big football stadium. It's a high school football stadium in Texas, which means it is about the size of most professional football stadiums. But yeah, my brother just rolled up in a car, got shot up, and that was it.
There was a moment today, Justin and I grabbed lunch, and I don't know, this is like the third or fourth time that we've come, like it's become enough of a Monday ritual that there was sort of a, let's bother to learn each other's names type thing. And today was the first day that our server was not wearing a mask, and I was just like I had a brief for thee, but not for me moment where I was just like, well, I mean, I get to not wear a mask, but you,
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I do think that we've kind of turned a corner in terms of the messaging with the CDC, with the masks. Obviously, there was a difference, a revision to it last week, but I think kind of universally, this is becoming more about your personal decision and a little less about the spiritual a community idea, which I think is probably more healthy to lock this decision more on the side of, hey, look, you should get the vaccine if you want to be protected at this level. That I think is the bargain that makes the most sense, as opposed to like, if you don't get it, then your cousin's granddad's bowling partner will die. It's like that's a little bit, I think, less motivating than, hey, you should do it. It's easy, free. It's, takes not a lot out of your day, and go knock it out.
I'm glad that's where, because that's the thing. I remember just maybe a few weeks ago, we were talking about we should just be, we're at the place now where like there was no line to get a vaccine. And it's like when vaccines are being rationed or limited, it's one thing to say, to have these sort of things in place to say like, oh, you have to do this because these other people may not be protected. Now it's like a matter of choice. It's like, now it's like, don't complain to me about Avengers spoilers. You had your chance to see it.
Yeah.
So, the mask thing and honestly, masks work, people, like this weird, like, but it's not like I can see this in our chat room. Again, there's a reason you have different biosafety levels. There's a reason at one level you wear a mask, another level you wear a bubble suit. It's not a talisman that magically protects you from all germs. And it's just this weird sort of like, this place didn't have a mask mandate. Like, no, but a lot of the health people were wearing masks and denser. It's like, it's
vectors. It's all about vectors.
I would say all of that pushback comes from less of a discussion about reality when it comes to science, and more about how much you do or do not worship at the altar of authority. And I think that the mere fact that you're arguing, whoever is, I haven't looked in the chat, but whoever's arguing, like, realize that's saying more about you and your anger at mom and dad than it is saying about what the science says about masks.
But that is I don't know if you guys have read any of these pieces of like, why are no vax people saying no vax here? Why are there was even one of like, why are libs still wearing masks if they don't need to, which I didn't like that article. I had troubles with that article to begin with. But a lot of it is well, this is all so fast. I'm not in a rush and I feel safe. These people would argue. Or a lot of it is like people who got COVID and that, we know that there's some natural immunization that you get from catching any virus really. And they, some of that kind of bleeds into some of it's an emergency authorization. It's not a real thing.
I think that a lot of it is risk reward for people. And there is a reality for some people that are in rural areas that don't feel that they didn't feel the pain of this on the level that people who lived in cities did. They didn't see a gigantic change in the way that life was lived over the past year and a half, in a way that a lot of people who lived, like, when I was in Oakland, there was a bomb went off in early March and life was not the same until I moved away. It was still not the same. So it's like, that's part of it. But vaccine hesitancy is not a monolith. There are a lot of different reasons, up to and including, I got a friend of mine whose husband is all on board on the science, believes that everybody should get vaxxed, terrified of needles.
Oh,
and it's just as simple as that. It's just like, he's like, if it was in a pill, I would take it tomorrow, but I am terrified of needles and I will not do it past that. And it's like, that's an element that doesn't fit into our our very specific.
Well, and it's like, we want to shame. Likewise, I have a friend who is vaccine hesitant, and I think that if put into a corner, he would whisper that it's like, I'm not ready to go back into the world yet, and I'm using this as a reason to not go back in the world.
Yeah.
Which is fine, and it's like, you're not gaining a lot by mocking him in public and ascribing reasons that aren't his reasons.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And like, people who are hesitant because of the speed at which it's developed, like, you're right. Like we've all sort of figured our risk reward ratio of that, and like I have friends I'm like, no, you're right. Like I can't tell you that I know the data and I've been to the future and I will tell you the outcome of this.
Well,
it is worth noting, like in America.
There's a severe weather statement.
The statement is, weather's bad.
Yeah. Oh, here's the severe weather statement. Severe thunderstorm warning may knock your podcast off the air.
Especially if you talk about the government. Sincerely,
hey,
the government.
Knock it off. Talking about Pfizer.
The National Weather Service, us, the guys that control the weather nationally, we will knock you off the air if you talk bad about the government.
Services the weather.
Actually, this computer did not go out.
Oh.
The streaming one?
Yeah. I mean, the Wisp went out, so we were disconnected for a little bit, but actually we are still going. And thankfully we saw the same.
Bryce went into the generator room and saw Dr. Fauci unplugging things.
Ah! I'm just really tired of you guys talking all this mess.
A big.
I mean, sure, you could tell the truth about the government, or you could die miserably of a new disease.
I mean, it's up to you.
All right, everybody. Hello. I'm told we are back. Thank you, Big Voice Jay, for the raid.
I'm gonna vaccinate you from life.
I'm gonna vaccinate society from your bad ideas.
Bad Fauci.
I don't remember where we were. When the power went out, so.
I was about to say something dumb, and then Justin was about to say something smart.
I was gonna say. So, I think. The big thing for me is that I get the idea that people are hesitant about big pharma, and that's ultimately who we're trusting here with this kind of emergency authorization. Like, you can check their results, but ultimately these are not companies that people tend to feel particularly fondly about. And I don't think that just because we were in a crisis situation, that means that everybody's going to forget all their feelings that they have about this industry in America. And I do think that does factor into things.
It is worth noting that, and again, you should always seek to steel man the other side's argument. There is a precedent for caution. Like, as much as I personally bristle at the glacial pace that the FDA moves at, the fact is the FDA moving very, very slowly with 5-year trials is what spared most of the United States from the horrors of thalidomide. Because in Europe, they moved very, very quickly. Everyone was using thalidomide as a drug to calm morning sickness and make pregnancy a little bit more comfortable. And then all of a sudden, these babies came out missing arms, missing legs, missing giant chunks of their body. Yeah. And here in the United States, we didn't have to suffer that partly because of our overabundance of caution. So it's so easy to just say, science says this now, go, go, go. But again, it's like it's a spectrum. And so as whether or not somebody else's attitudes align with what I believe is insignificant. Like it's important to remember that not everybody is crazy. Not everybody who believes something different than you is a crazy person.
Yeah, and I think that's we talk about theory of mind. Theory of mind is how we try to understand how people think. We all have a form of it. Usually it's pretty bad. And Brian used the great term steel man instead of straw man, the idea of let me give somebody the best intentions and stuff. I would say that there are things that get frustrating when you realize that you can idolize something like science. And then when people are like, well, why would we question this? But it's like, well, sometimes they don't do science. Sometimes they do politics. And there's a great article in Wired that's terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
That is. And so what this is, and it's kind of, the headline is the 60-year-old scientific screw up that helped kill COVID by Megan Multeni. Now,
well, that helped COVID kill
humans.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing is that and again, I retweeted this, it's not getting a lot of attention. But, there were mistakes were made and people are trying to say, well, my people did it. And there was these other people here and people our tribalism is affecting the way we look at stuff and the where we draw those lines can kind of weird. But the story is basically there's a woman who is probably one of the leading, if not the expert in the world on aerosols and infectious disease, which turns out is a much narrower field than you would have expected, who had been working on research for years because the idea that things could only be aerosols if they were like 5 microns or smaller had been just accepted, but nobody knew where it was accepted, why this was truth. And this had been for like 60, 70 years. This was just a thing that people accept. Oh, 5 microns or smaller. And if you really know science, and I mean in science in the sense of like the history of science and how science, a lot of things are more, you always got to be suspicious because when you hear 5 microns or smaller, well, we know it's probably not 5 microns, and maybe it's not always the same case because some things might be less dense, more dense. There are different environments in which you can have humidity, et cetera. That's a very suspicious rule, but people have been accepting it for years. And one of the reasons why people are like, oh, no, we don't think COVID's an aerosol. We think it's droplets or whatever was because people had unscientifically clung to this. And there was a point where she's in a meeting with remember the WHO had tweeted a fact, hashtag COVID-19 is not airborne.
Yeah.
Okay. WHO had said this, and this is one of the why do we have trust issues? Because bureaucrats with PhDs had been yelling at us, telling us, no, this is fact, this is not fact, and then had to reverse themselves. Then wanted to say, well, science is moving. Well, yeah, but what you did before wasn't science. That's the problem. And that's why we're skeptical, because how do we know?
These are the same people who later are confused why people hide behind, climate change is real. They'll change their mind in 20 minutes. And it's like, well, I mean, you contribute to that philosophy of people by announcing as flat facts the current best guess, and it undermines your authority.
So there's a talk about a video call with her and some other people who are working on this area. And the researcher, Lydia Morawski, and we're really interested in reading a story of her fight working on this. A revered atmospheric physicist who had arranged this meeting tried to explain how far infectious particles of different sizes could potentially travel. One of the WHO experts abruptly cut her off, telling her she was wrong. Ma recalls somebody telling the story. His rudeness shocked her. You don't just argue with Lydia about physics. And that was part of the problem, is you had people like, No, we know this. And that was so much the mask, like, and Andrew and the mask mandate every up, but like that was like I'm big pro mask, not because they're magic talismans that ward off all disease, but they limit exposure.
Well,
And now we're like, well, they're no viral load. Like, yeah, it's real.
and that's like a big thing with that article, which is fascinating, is that the subject of it was an atmospheric scientist, and she knew from her work of smoke and other particles and stuff like that, that the idea that this hard line in the sand with infectious disease of like, oh no, anything airborne needs to be smaller than 5 microns was not true of her research in atmospheric study. And so she was trying to explain, like, no, this is not the case. You were drawing this hard line here when there are things that are above 5 microns that do hang in the air, that this can be aerosolized. And she was just kind of run over for a long period of time to our tremendous detriment.
And her aerosol research, when it came to pollutants, was used by the WHO, was endorsed. They said, yes, this is why indoor pollution is all this bad. It's why we need to think about climate change seriously.
Yeah.
They loved her data there.
Yeah.
They didn't like it here.
And that's to me, science is cool, not because it is static, but because it changes. And ultimately, it's like, if we're going to look at where was the science done? The science was done when we looked at something and said, oh, we used to know that, and now we know something different. And that's what I mean, ultimately we kind of got there. And that's what we need to understand, is that these things, ultimately science is often fighting with our own instincts, and bureaucracy and politics are an enemy of these things because they reinforce our own opinions.
Now, normally, science is an ever-shifting landscape of facts that are constantly changing. But there's one fact that will never, ever change. And that is that all of you guys should go to patreon.com/weird things and contribute just $1 an episode to get your RSS feed, combining this with the After Things segment.
Yep.
Wow.
We talk on After Things.
Normally you do this part.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
How should it go?
Brian, I challenge your point.
My thesis?
It's totally wrong. Indeed, you should traverse to patreon.com/weird things.
Don't go.
And you should foppishly click on the $1 an episode. Yes. And then you should get your RSS feed, which gives you the After Things podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship and how to go about your creative life online from 3 people who have done it. Right to the podcatcher of your choice. Thank you guys for doing it. Patreon.com/weird things.
2 other articles worth checking out if you're kind of curious about where the investigation or the call for an investigation of the lab leak is going. Like a week ago, Nicholas Wade, who had written science articles for New York Times, had a very lengthy piece going on about this. If you look up, do a search for Nicholas Wade, New York Times, or New York Times COVID.
This is just to set my mind straight. This is about the accusations that there was poor handling of a lab in China, and China's deliberately obfuscating any kind of research into this.
Yeah, the idea that and the idea is that is a factor that should be explored. Not this is what happened, but the idea that we shouldn't forego any investigation. So that was an article came out last week. This week, Donald McNeil Jr., who is another New York Times science writer, who actually wrote an article last year that didn't make it, but was like, why we know it's not a lab leak, has now written a Medium piece going, things have changed. We have new information now, and we should investigate this. And so that's a very telling thing. Who was a person who was one of the science writers who was very much on top of like, no, this is dumb. This is why this isn't the case. And now it's a little frustrating because it kind of comes down to like, well, we didn't believe this administration because the Chinese were telling us this. Is if you read through the lines, like, wait, that doesn't make any sense at all. But I'm glad that more people are saying we need transparency. We need answers, because that maybe zoonosis, who knows, but we won't know the way we are.
So we're playing let's pretend here, but what would that look like if it was figured out that definitely this was mismanagement on a governmental level and a cover up on a governmental level, in a world where we increasingly as humans are losing our appetite for war, and there are intergovernmental opportunities to, if not sue, then to punish bad actors. What moves? So let's say it all comes out again. Pure conjecture. Please don't hold me to this. But let's say it all comes out that it's like at a governmental level, this was sloppy work, and that's why this global pandemic happens. Now all of a sudden, the entire world has a legitimate grievance against one of the top super economies of the globe. What do you do?
That
the problem,
is a very interesting question.
I don't think it's clear cut like that. I think the problem is that we have a number of people who came rushed to the defense of the Chinese labs. Understand these labs don't function necessarily independently. They have funding and all this, and there are more. You hear gain of function stuff thrown out there, which is a more complicated term than just these things are complicated. I don't pretend to understand all these things, and the people who sometimes shout the loudest sometimes don't know are the ones I trust the least, But the point is to say is the problem is that I would say that if things from what they look, if there was a lab leak there in China because they were following a certain course of research and there's funding coming from different labs and things were going on, and then the West had quickly turned its eyes away and did not, and was playing defending this, and Western scientists and institutions were defending this and kind of covering up the problem, is it's not just China that's complicit. And also I want to answer something too. Like people go, oh, it's racist to blame China. Like, which is more racist, blaming people in a wet market or blaming an international group of researchers? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that there is a deliberate parsing that we need to do between, where we legitimately need to point to a problem of hate crimes against Asians, let's say here in America, and understanding that the crippling virus that affected the world, we should understand the origins of, and we should be open to all possibilities of exactly how that happened. We can. I think we've gone over this a bunch of times, but just to reiterate, I think we need our eyes open on every inch of this. I don't think that we have a full picture. I mean, it would be like a zoo letting a tiger out or having a tiger escape, and then the zoo not telling the other neighbors around it because they were afraid that they'd be frightened.
They'd be blamed. And so meanwhile, the tiger's tearing stuff up. Yeah. And they're all like, well, you can't prove it's our tiger. I mean, it might be
by
just
the way,
tiger.
Actual story, Bryce, that you can look up. A Chinese zoo that had a tiger escape. And
they didn't admit that a tiger?
And they didn't tell the people near it because they were afraid that it would startle the people. Not a metaphor, a literal thing that happened in China 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
So look.
Still on the loose as of May 10.
Leopard. It was a leopard.
A leopard. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm like, wow, tiger too. The tiger was in Texas, but we all knew. And then they caught the tiger, and it was like a big cat, like just purring as they fed it.
Okay, it was a leopard that got out in China. So, we obviously have a certain point of view in terms of the Chinese Communist Party on this podcast. I think that we could talk about that until we're blue in the face. But if we do care about science, and everybody who listens here cares about science, then I do think that I'm glad that the consensus scientifically seems to be turning to the idea that, wow, if this was a zoonotic thing, we probably would have had more conclusive things by now. We should continue to keep our eye open for all, not to say that proof won't make itself available, but we don't exactly have a cooperative partner right now in terms of trying to get to the bottom of this. Yeah, also, look out for leopards.
Yeah, historically, we now come to believe that H1N1, the original leak in the 1970s, was from a Russian lab. And like we've had SARS had leaked previously from other facilities. Like this happens, and it's one of these things. We've had our labs too. We've had, the United States. This happens, and that's the thing is that this. Oh, you're trying to like no, like we're our enemy's bureaucracy. Our enemy's bureaucracy. That's our enemy here. And I would think if it came to the surface, I don't know, like Brian, like would there be? I don't know. I don't think there would be, because I think at this point, we're just that ship sort of sailed and it become so obfuscated.
Oh,
I would hope.
That's interesting. I think if I'm hearing you right, you're bringing up the idea that scientists are gonna leap in front of bullets to protect their own. Like nobody wants to be the next target for like, hey man, something might have gotten loose in my lab and I don't want to go down. So it's like I'm not going to support.
Because the fear is going to be one of the problems we have too is whenever you have a really weird thing happen, like, when we started realizing the FBI is like, hey, we think we're losing a lot of intelligence information, there's a leak there. Like, hey, let's ask this dude to investigate, this leak because he knows a lot about Russia and, a lot about, how these things sort of work. And it ends up being, the guy who's doing the leaking.
Right.
Sometimes, and that's happened. We've had that before with some of the researchers and some of these more exotic stuff. We'll go ask them for their opinion on it. Well, they're either the person who maybe been involved in it or they're really good friends with the person that did do it. So here the problem is like, I think that I think you would see kind of a rallying around like, we're right now. The funny thing is like, why are we trying to attack these people or trying to save it? And like, well, if this is the cause of it, then that was a failure.
Yeah.
That was a complete and total failure. The idea that we're trying to build these systems to prevent the spread of this stuff. And then it caused the worst pandemic in 100 years. That's maybe a sign that we're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. I'll bet you it'll all work itself out.
Yeah. But just more questions. We all got to get past our tribalism. We all got to get past I'm going to rally around my guys because, they agree with me. And we just got to like, somebody wants to ask questions, don't shut them down for wanting to ask questions.
And look, I think that we're starting as we begin to emerge. We see states that were more cautious begin to lift mask mandates and open things up that had previously been closed. I feel like now that we are kind of getting to a stable wavelength, hopefully, that these questions and conversations can now be had a little bit more easily than they were before.
Go. Gentlemen, I want you to go on a bike ride.
Oh, thank goodness. I mean, it's only storming and lightning outside. We've only lost power twice. I think now's a great time.
I love
metal
bike
frame
rides.
and go out.
Yeah.
All right, you're gonna go on it. You're gonna go bike ride in Canada, okay?
Oh,
cold rain, even better than
never
warm
been a
rain.
storm in Canada. Fun fact. Put it on the Wikipedia.
All right, everybody, it's beautiful there right now in my head.
So if you get struck by lightning on a regular bike, does that make it an e-bike? No.
Just leave it go. Just
all right,
keep that one there.
where are your bikes? I need to know what kind of bikes you guys are riding. Bryce, you too.
I'm gonna say it's a Schwinn with a big banana seat.
Oh, dude, no, I'm in one of those lean back recumbent bikes where it's like you look like you're about to take a nap, but you're pedaling.
Oh, yeah.
You're doing
not
an
exercise recumbent bike either. Like
Brian,
a real one?
A little off-roading. You're doing a little off-roading though, so you're gonna have some fat
All right,
tires
it's
on
an
that.
e-recumbent bike.
No, yeah.
To assist on
There's
the
a
hills.
guy. There's a guy that is on my morning run, and I think he lives in my neighborhood. That's on one of those recumbent bikes, and I always just wave to him, and it's always so funny to see him like leaned back, and he's just like he just has his little arm. And he's just like,
Does he have the big flag?
He does.
To alert the
He
world
does.
that it's like, hey, I look like I might slide under your car, but I won't.
I'm in a silly bike. Look at me.
Bryce, what are you on? Like a penny farthing? What are you on?
No, I have a bike. We're mountain bike. I'll take a mountain bike. Yeah.
All right, Bryce on a mountain bike. So you guys are.
Are you like shifting gears constantly because
Or
you
is it
can feel the
straight
road?
BMX?
Yeah,
Are you BMXing?
I'm doing real manual trials stuff. I'm trying to do
Manual
tricks.
trials.
Yeah.
People know what trials is. Okay. Yeah. I'm got the.
I didn't even know you were a lawyer.
So you're exploring some little canyons, some little canyon trails and canyons and stuff,
Yep.
and you're kids. And do you like this path you're on?
Oh, dude, I love
you
it.
wanna,
Look at the sky. Guys, you guys aren't looking at the sky with your facing forward. I'm looking at the beautiful clouds. That one looks like Mickey Mouse. That one looks like a big wiener.
Maybe one of you is kind of bored and it's like, I want to find a new path. You guys want to find a new path?
I'm tired of this. My banana seat is chafing. I need to get going in a different direction.
You know what they say, brother?
Let's go.
Different trails, same clouds. Let's go.
I say it all the
All
time.
right. So now, all of a sudden, take your bike
Yeah.
down a path
Yeah.
and You decided to quickly dismount your bicycles, throw them, and run away.
Oh my God, I'm so glad we did that. Sorry, I must have blanked out for a minute. I was looking at clouds. Why do we do that again?
Well, geez, because we needed to chuck our bikes.
It seems like I'm being chased by something slower than me.
Look
Yeah.
at your t-shirt. It says bike chuck 500. We
Yep.
go 500 meters and then we chuck our
And
bikes.
then we chuck our bikes as we do every year.
Yeah, no, I forgot that we were doing
For charity.
bike chuck.
Chucking for charity.
Charity chuck.
So you come running up to me. I'm Steve.
Oh, and Steve,
Oh, Steve.
would you
we
like
did
to
it.
make a donation? We're chucking our bikes for charity.
Have you heard of ALS?
We
the
forgot to
matter,
get pledges
boys?
beforehand.
What's the matter, boys?
Well, I mean, we just got 500 meters.
Wait, aren't you the one that points in clouds and yells wiener?
I don't know what you're talking about. Would you like to pledge $20 for every bike I chuck?
Call that
Yeah,
a wiener mobile.
because also that just means you give them $20. Also, you give us all $20.
us all
so that's going to be
$20.
$60, mister.
$60,
Can we
please.
have $60, Steve?
Can you give, yes.
That's what we all call you, $60 Steve.
Where are your bikes, boys?
Ah,
we chucked them right in the,
Yeah.
We
right
took
in the ravine.
We took the side path. Remember we took that side path?
They're beneath the clouds. You can't miss them.
Yep.
Which cloud there?
The one that old puffin stuff. That's, what I call it.
Oh, the old
Yeah,
tumescent cumulus.
Yeah, you over there. You the hunchback boy. Which cloud?
Which one is that? Is
the bell.
The
The
boy on their
bell.
cumble bike.
Oh.
The one that has to
yeah.
ride the bike.
All right, that's me. I'll tell you what. Take a look. You see Cumulo, you see Nimbus, you see Cumulonimbus. Ignore all of them. Turn left at Cirrus. Look for
And then
Stratus.
follow the dingus.
Find yourself one of them that looks like a UFO. You've gone too far.
Right.
Then you turn around thrice.
Yeah.
And you say, "Where is the bicycle?" And then you'll see it.
And you can follow those
What?
directions any time of the year. The
Any
clouds are
time
staying
of the
right
year,
there.
Yeah.
What would give me a good reason? Why would you throw in your bikes and ran?
I mean, outside. Wait.
Something getting stuck on the bikes,
All
right?
right, wait,
there has to
wait.
be something dangerous
What's
on
funny is all I can think of is the Toast of London where she pauses and then throws a shopping cart into the canal. And he was like, I always wondered how they got there.
It's got to be something getting itself. We have to have run over something, right? Did we run over an ant colony?
Yeah, our tolerance for charity.
Wait, all right, no, so we can't. This isn't a murder weapon situation. Like we didn't like. Oh my
I'm not
god,
saying
we
we
hit
hit a
a
guy.
all three of us on our bikes at the same time hit the same homeless person.
so-
and
so-
we hit a guy,
they
but like
died.
like an ant colony or something.
Ooh, that's
I'm not
pretty
tossing
good.
my bike for no ant colony.
Okay, what if they
It would have had to be some
what about
fancy
spiders?
ass ants.
What about Kingdom of the Spiders? Just a wave of tarantulas coming at you.
But why am I throwing away unless the bike becomes infested?
We know that you're doing that.
What
we know
about
you're throwing the bike
snakes,
away.
snakes leaping through the spokes, getting tangled in the gears, and you're like, ah! And then you just see more snakes, and then you're like, peace out.
Yeah, I don't know if the idea of anything terrifying is something that I don't want a bike to go faster away from. I think the larger thing would be, let's say it is an electrical storm and we are afraid that we're seeing things get like struck by lightning. We
Or-
don't want our metal bicycles, and we all forgot to bring our wooden bicycles.
Our bikes are loaded with packets of drugs, and this is a drop. So we ride the bikes out.
Why
Yeah.
did we
Well,
run away then?
Well,
No,
you gotta get out of
we're
here
leaving it
somehow.
for the other people to
Yeah.
pick it up.
Yeah.
See, Bryce, I got this great scam, man. We say it's the bike chucking charity, but really,
It's the
Charity.
bike coking charity.
yeah. Now you're thinking we're gonna make some
So why
easy
did you
money.
come tell me, Steve, aka Ryan? Actually, is my name.
Steve, aka Ryan, we are here as an intervention for the fact that you can't pick a name.
Yeah. Also, we think you're the drop guy, and we want to let you know that this is where our bikes got dropped.
Yeah.
So
Right. So I'm sorry. We forgot to mention the whole time we're talking, we're tapping our noses.
Yeah.
And we're like, chuck the bikes.
The bikes are made of
chucking
pure
charity.
The bikes are made of pure cocaine, so you're gonna need to pick them up before
So-
it rains.
All right, I'm gonna read you the story here,
All right.
and And some of it, like, read it too. Like, a lot of this is being told from the POV of a 14-year-old. And if you were a 14-year-old, you're like, I think there's a few details here that are maybe changed, but not accusing anybody. This is by Sarah Santora, writing for Newsweek. Teen accidentally rides bike into den of rattlesnakes.
It's always snakes. It's always snakes.
Of course, always snakes. 14-year-old Raiden Peter and his friend were enjoying an afternoon bike ride in Lethbridge, Canada, a town south of Calgary, when they found themselves riding through a rattlesnake den. CTV News reports the boys were trying to find a new biking path in the canyon, and they accidentally rode their bike into the snake den. I was so scared, Peter told CTV. The two teens told CTV they quickly dismounted my bikes, threw them into the den, and ran away. They called the City of Lethbridge Rattlesnake Mitigation Program to get their bikes back. The name of this guy's the guy who's their rattlesnake mitigator has got a great name, Ryan First Diver.
AKA Steve.
This sounds like something like GPT-3 wrote, by the way. It says, better known as the rattlesnake wrangler, appeared at the scene to help. He just appeared at the scene. I've been in that position where you actually walk into a den and what you see around you is writhing, hissing rattlesnakes diving in for holes, and it's scary. He quickly helped the boys retrieve their bikes. And then First Diver has been officially wrangling rattlesnakes for 9 years. In all of years of venomous snakes, he says he's never been bitten. He does say, however, that he lost nearly all the vision in his right eye last summer after getting rattlesnake venom in it. But as a fan of exotic snakes, he wouldn't change a thing about his job. I don't know. Maybe less rattlesnake venom.
I'm going to change the venom in the eye. Probably.
Yeah. Oh my God.
This problem would have been solved if they'd all been riding mongooses.
Yeah. Oh, you.
How long you been sitting on that? You
just
had
now.
that
Just now, Brian. Swear on
You
all
little
things. I just
Ricky
now thought of
Ticky-Tacky,
mongooses.
you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's terrifying. Are you kidding me?
Well,
Venom in the Eye is such a great metal song name.
Well, especially because he wasn't bitten. He was just like, I don't know. Oi, I was squirting some venom just for grins, and then all of a sudden it would splash in my eye. Anyway, I'm blind now.
What part of Canada is that accent from?
Oi, I eat fire ants. Oi.
How far from Toronto is I Eat Fire Ants?
Oi.
Oh, love Wayne Gretzky. We're known for our renowned kindness.
He said rattlesnakes. I said, you are joking.
Sorry.
What's very cool. What's very cool is the Ryan First Diver has a YouTube channel, and so he vlogged about it.
Oh, wow.
Can we hear his voice? Oi, it's me, Ryan First Diver. Oof. That sound.
And there should be like two by my bike, right by my handlebar.
Oh, this is the den. We're at the den. They're getting the bike.
Holy cow.
It's not scary or a cave. It's like in tall grass.
So they had tossed.
Yeah, that's what a den can be. Yeah.
They had tossed their bikes accidentally, so they weren't like scared of anything. They had tossed their bikes, and that place that they tossed it accidentally. Was a snake den.
I could just as easily picture them figuring out that they're in a snake den, and sometimes you slow down and you lose control, and it's all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't trust these two wheels or this terrain. I'm gonna
fail
these two
right
feet.
now,
especially if you don't know if you're gonna turn further into it or not. Like when you're on foot, you can do a 180, my man.
Holy cow! Wow.
So Ryan First Diver is now with his stick going very slow.
Everybody on audio, just understand, it's like everything is overgrown with grass, grass, like the tall weeds
You
as
would
far
never
as the
know.
eye can see.
No,
You would never know.
that is a recipe for getting bit.
Even now, our hero Ryan is poking with a stick into every step he's about to take to make sure that there are no snakes in there.
And in the snake's defense, some of them were rattling, like, "Hey, I'm walking here."
I'm walking here. Hey.
Do you think he
This
rides?
is my bike.
He's like, whoa, free bike. He just pedals
Is it?
off.
Yeah. Is he gonna? Oh, so he's handing it to the kid right there.
Where's the recumbent bike?
That kid died.
He's too busy looking at the clouds.
So, here's my advice to all you guys that want to mountain bike out here in the summer. Stick to those north-facing slopes. The cool.
Oh, because
shaded
the
slopes.
south-facing ones would get more
sunny
sunlight,
ones.
and that's why they were there,
where
is
you gotta
to
bump
soak
into
in the
snake.
warmth.
Okay.
But that is the one and only Ryan First Diver,
That's great.
hero
we'd be able
and
to see
snake
and
wrangler
save
to
the
all
lights.
Canadian children.
Yeah.
I see you
So-
in the chat says, "Yep, that's a snake guy." You can tell looking at him.
I think
So
at least in one of the photos that I think the CTV, he's wearing shorts while he's doing
Jorts.
this.
Are those jorts? I can't
No,
see.
they're camo. They're
The
camo.
camo?
Shorts.
Okay.
They're camo shorts.
He's got to keep his.
We should
elbows.
send him a
So-
pair of jorts. Just try them out.
if you want something fun, just go to Google News and put in snake bite. And understand it's going to give you by relevance, not even by date. You can sort by date, but it'll give you anything snakes are mentioned. So snake bite. 1 day ago, rescue a 4-year-old snake bite victim in Palm Springs.
Ah.
Let's go down here. 6 hours ago, Zapata County canine officer bit by rattlesnake. And then you get, 5 days ago, 4 days ago, but like with just in the last few days, just 3 hours ago. We
Wow,
get,
there's a lot.
Rattle and hurt. Come on.
Andrew, if I may have an at bat here, Bryce, what happens if we type in giant spider into into the news?
I'm gonna Google giant spider.
Google News, the latest giant spider attacks Australian space telescope.
And
So good, so good.
But that was 9 days ago, and that's the top result. Not
And also, by the way, that is a New York
Well, you're
Post
using
story.
giant. Giant is not necessarily a word a word that'll get used as
Yeah,
much.
what's
If
your
you put
spider bite?
speedier bite.
Jumping spider bite treatment prevention. What to know about?
Spider-back bite victim appears in court to face charges over standoff against a spider.
Huh?
He was like, "It was stand your ground, Your Honor."
Yeah.
It was me
Please
or the spider.
put all 8 hands on the Bible to swear into court.
Hey, eyes
Here's
on
what-
me.
if you-
All 8 of them, please.
If you type in new or just large spider, CNN, mysterious new tarantula-like spider identified in the Florida Everglades.
A new spider?
New species of venomous spider found found at Miami Zoo.
It looks like a Venom action figure. It looks like a toy from the franchise.
Oh my God. This is my life now, by the way, because we've moved into a place that has a lot more bugs than where we used to
California.
live in Oakland.
Have you seen a scorpion yet?
No, God help us when that actually happens. My wife is now obsessed. Like all she does is just find bugs and catalog bugs and thinks that it's the worst bug that could ever happen. It is my entire life, and I just want them all gone. Well, I don't care because I grew up with bugs all around. South Florida has nothing but bugs. Like you see a bug, you kill the bug, you
I don't know.
throw it away.
There's something about the slow plodding nature of scorpions that really freaked me out, especially because my daughter was 3 at the time and she goes, "Dad, there's a bug. There's a bug, Dad. There's a bug." And so I come into the room and there's Josie, 3 years old, and there is just a slow plodding scorpion just walking across her bedroom.
God damn it, Bryce.
Yeah.
Isn't the
I got
He's
another one for
superimposing
you.
a gigantic spider on the screen.
he's scared because it's the new tarantula.
Ugh. It
Yeah,
does
I got
look.
another
It
one for
does
you.
look ready for the a Sony version of a Marvel movie.
I'm looking for Tom Hardy.
Type in coconut crab.
Coconut crab. Okay.
Now we're just looking.
That
at
sounds
you.
delicious.
Now we're just in creepy crawly mode.
I mean,
Like,
welcome to Weird Things.
Should I
I
add
know.
Scampy to that? All right. Endangered species, 17 crab.
Look at images. Let's do images.
Oh, just images? Oh, okay.
what's the world's best crab restaurant?
Ooh, delicious. Let's see.
Let's see. Coconut crab. Got the images here. I'm gonna zoom-
Look at
Go!
the trash can.
yeah.
Trash can. Look at the trash
Ah,
can.
it's so
Oh
big.
my God!
It's the size of a human torso. Oh my God.
No.
That looks like a play set that would cost your family $300.
That's gonna lop off a finger.
Yeah, that'll chop.
If you're lucky.
If you give him a finger, he'll take it.
Did you see that headline? Giant coconut crab seen hunting birds.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that headline. Oh.
Hey man, this actually segues nicely. I don't know if we're ready for picks yet, but I do have one. Do we have another story, Andrew?
Well, I got two quick stories that we need to talk about. One is congratulations to China, by the way, who have soft landed a probe on Mars, which is hard. There's a little bit, there are other previous attempts by other nations as far as what is it really the second nation to ever soft land, but they seem to have successfully landed a rover on Mars, which is quite an achievement and very impressive. And one of the things they have on this rover when they start operating it is ground penetrating radar. It would have been awesome if they had televised it live like NASA does, so we could see it instead of having,
To trust
everything
them.
go through state controlled media and waiting. But nonetheless, this is a great achievement and kudos to them for doing that. Also, last week, we forgot to mention, in the midst of when Elon Musk on Saturday Night Live, as it was broadcasting elsewhere, SpaceX reused a booster for the 10th time.
Yeah, and I guess on top of that, has SN15 gone up for a second time? That was another thing they were talking about.
Haven't launched it again, but they had like a compilation video showing SN15
That's awesome.
came out. So
I'll tell you what,
Kind of
man.
amazing.
The fact that they're using essentially test launches to build the Starlink network, what almost certainly will become like the gateway most anybody who's not in a city will use to get on the internet is wow. It's really
Yeah.
remarkable. Like that's the sleight of hand is we're all watching things crash and fail to, re-land or whatever. But meanwhile, them satellites keep going up, and there are hundreds of them now, right?
Yeah, I want to
third.
go back to the Chinese Mar probe.
Yeah.
Like, so now, do you think that Biden could just call Xi Jinping and be like, "Hey, sucker, you want to race for pinks?"
The pink being the sands of Mars.
Yeah,
Whoever
we're gonna
gets
race
there first.
our probe versus your probe. We live our life a quarter mile of Martian track at a time. Like, we're gonna dust you, sucker.
And then it's
And then-
like he fakes out and does a J turn and lands on the moon. He's like, "Ha ha! We call the moon. It's closer
Well, it's
anyway."
Then Boeing and Lockheed walk into his office like, great call. Good call. We've got this covered. We need $50 billion. And, 70 years later, as wheeling it, planet China, the fourth planet to orbit our sun.
It was like, they don't call it the red planet for nothing, kid.
Yeah.
We got here first.
Meanwhile, we're insisted that our new super launch system is going to be going there anytime soon.
Yeah. So we're sure that this thing landed.
They got telemetry back. They got information back from it. We're at the point now that if they didn't, it would be kind of
It'd be weird.
it would be
It'd be
as
weird.
phenomenal a performance to fake this as to do it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, because we're looking at some telemetry data coming back, so we could see what would look like the signal from like the detachment from it. But it's again, we go, hey, we wish NASA was more like SpaceX, but now you look at other space agencies and you wish them they were more like NASA as far as the transparency in images.
Yeah. I mean, look,
I
I have no reason to believe that they didn't, but I would also like to have people who know these things
Well,
tell me
we've
that
got
they believe
we-
that they do it.
we've got plenty
Yeah.
of satellites in orbit. We can see we can find the thing and
It's really hard. It's really hard.
really.
Because the resolution of that, like nobody none of the people in space are doubting that this is real now.
Okay,
Nobody's
yeah,
doubting
yeah.
this because
That's
there's a
all I
point
wanted.
it could. Yeah, that's like because they waited. If they didn't do it, they would have just never announced it, or they would
Yeah.
have said something else. But
A
like,
piece
how
of
I would love it
trash
when they
has hit Mars.
I'd love it. How cool though would it be if they turn on their camera and all of a sudden our helicopter flies by?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. You know what's funny is I bet that's a non-zero consideration when it comes to landing locations where, you know, we've seen that China's very protective of its national pride or whatever. And that would be kind of an international incident if we were to fly our helicopter over their
Sup, dog?
rover. Like, all right, would you stop mocking us?
Click, 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 click. Stop taking pictures of me. Click,
It's
click,
like a
click.
space paparazzi.
Yeah. Hey Rover,
So
hey
that's-
Rover, turn over here. Turn over here.
Give us a little bit of reflection, yo.
Smile for us. Smile. What do you think about Bennifer?
So
That's
let's
fine.
do some picks.
Hey, my pick is the new David Attenborough series, the Netflix original Life in Color. Man, David Attenborough still has it, and I know it's the team that gets the incredible photography, and it's the team that puts together the incredible stories. But it sure was great to see him. It's only 2 episodes and then a making of, but man, it's gorgeous. That footage they got, they're not messing around. It really pops. It was neat to be in the room with my kids when the scene would change and then they would finally show what creature we're going to talk about, and to hear the kids, just involuntarily go, whoa, was really, really fun. It's gorgeous.
Awesome. My pick is Sons of Sam. Have you seen this, Andrew?
No.
I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there is a theory popularized by journalist Maury Terry that the Son of Sam shootings in New York City were not done solely by David Berkowitz, who confessed initially to all of them, but that there were multiple shooters. This then leads into another layer of conspiracy, which leads to another layer of conspiracy. And your mileage may vary on exactly how many of these layers you might believe. I do think, though, for a true crime documentary, there's fairly compelling evidence, at least for the first one, of there being multiple shooters. It is a part of history that I was barely cognizant of. It was a little bit before my time. Obviously, the crimes happened in the mid 70s. It was still hot news through the early 80s. But what happens past that is a discussion about certain kinds of groups that I fed into certain things that happened throughout the 80s. So I think it is well worth a view. It's, I believe, 4 episodes. Probably could have been 3, but that's our modern world of.
What did you know going
documentaries.
into it? Like, what caused you to press play? Was it a personal recommendation, or it just showed up at the right time?
I was. My mom was in town, and I'm like, oh, you know this stuff because she grew up around New York City, and that was when she was a young girl. The Son of Sam killer was killing young women. So I watched it because she was around, and people I'd seen conversations about it, but it was one of those things that initially in watching, I'm like, meh, I had my hands on my hips, kind of like skeptical face on. And while I don't know if I go the full Monty on his conspiracy on conspiracy on conspiracy, I do think that there is something to the idea that the New York Police Department very much liked the idea that one guy confessed to all these killings, despite the fact that the police sketches were inconsistent and the vehicles were inconsistent, and they were happy to put that behind them at a very turbulent period in New York City history. I think that seems to make sense to me.
I accept that. I mean, because that is a thing where police departments often try to put everything to one thing they can. But we saw with Bundy that the exact thing happened there, though. When we know Bundy did crimes that they described him as having different colored hair, driving a different vehicle, and Bundy went through detail for detail. So that's a normal thing. And the problem with witnesses is that And later on, be like, oh, this witness said somebody who's blonde and this, but it's like, no, we had Bundy here. This is what he said, and just that recall, the way things, also the way interrogations work. I'll watch this, but when I hear Berkowitz, and if I hear him working with accomplices, my hair, and I'm like, Berkowitz? I mean, that guy was like not. He was a loner among loners.
Well,
so just a really
what this presupposes is maybe he wasn't. Well,
the personality type. I mean, if he's naming people from the neighborhood, but I mean, it's like maybe, but like, I mean, I don't know, but like that's the thing. Like there are other cases, like that's one of the things I've talked about in one of my books. There's a lot of cases where serial killers working with other people is not as rare as people might think. And one of the biggest case, one of the gruesome was like Dean Kroll, who had several people working with him, and he was the one that inspired like John Wayne Gacy and stuff. But like there's numerous instances where this happens, where you get weirdos working together. But he is such a weirdo. That's where I'm like, well, could be, but that would surprise me because he was nuts.
Yes. I would say, look, I would without spoiling through who they say the accomplices are, it seems by the end of it, that element of it seems compatible with the facts that they come up. Not necessarily even that some of the sketches are inconsistent, but they are consistent with other facts with people around Berkowitz. So it was interesting. It's certainly a worthwhile doc. It's put together really well, and it is all told through a lot of the notes of Maury Terry, who was the journalist, and that is voiced. The voice of Maury Terry from his notes is Paul Giamatti, which gives a dramatic kind of heft to things as this man who is no longer with us, Maury Terry, is bringing you through his notes and investigation.
And then, can you bring up like the Scientology angle?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't know that there was one.
There is a Scientology angle, and hell, this is in the first, a few minutes. It's in like the animatic that is the thing, the credits.
Yeah.
But what this presupposes is that there's an element of a satanic cult to the Berkowitz thing, and where it goes from a bunch of weird people in Yonkers being weird to a grander conspiracy is where it kind of lost me. But the idea of there were some weird people in Yonkers doing some weird stuff seems like there is at least physical evidence to demonstrate that was the case. So worth viewing, and also very much as this guy Maury Terry continues to go, winds up writing a very popular book. The conclusions that he draws has a not only, I think, an outsized role in maybe popularizing another moral panic that terrorized America through the 80s, but also lays some groundwork for other stuff politically that they don't even touch in this documentary. But let's just say that a conspiracy that presumes there's a grand overclass of Satanist pedophiles, might linger yet today.
Did they ever get to talk to Berkowitz? Because like the dude's still alive.
They do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That would be interesting.
No, they're apparently, and this is stuff that I didn't know, that Berkowitz does multiple interviews by the end of this documentary with Maury Terry. That aired one of them on Inside Edition, that is brought into and hosted by Bill O'Reilly.
Yep.
To play him off. What does that mean? To play him off.
So I once talked to at the Magic Castle. I mentioned something about serial killers, and somehow this came up where somebody's like, "Oh, I corresponded with John Wayne Gacy." I'm like, "What?" And sat down, and this guy told me the story about how he had written a letter to John Wayne Gacy. He actually had got a hold of something Gacy had made and wanted him to sign it. And Gacy wrote him this letter back about how It was his property. He shouldn't have done this, da da da. But then the guy agreed to pay him like $10, and John Wayne Gacy signed it. And he has all this correspondence back and forth, and that's like,
Wow.
and you think about like these serial killers are still alive, just like sitting there waiting for pen pals, and it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah. There's boy, there is a line that even kind of made me uncomfortable, and I am in the tank for reporters and journalists because of my background. But you know, when you realize that you're chasing a scoop, and part of that is getting the get, and if getting the get means I need to become personal friends with David Berkowitz, like there's a little bit of the hair that stands up on the back of your neck. Even for me, that is about
when you're shelling out $15 for a Snickers bar at the commissary, and it's
it's even more along the lines of like, okay, so what is appropriate to get the interview?
Yeah,
like, and they don't go into this, but I know that in general, you're not writing a letter saying, hey, you murdering POS. Like, I think you're a piece of garbage. Anyway, answer these questions, you piece of garbage. You're probably writing a more friendly on its face letter to get what you want and to get him on camera. And indeed,
don't you hate when your hands get sweaty when you kill somebody?
I mean, I murder with words, you murder with knives. We're pretty much the same.
Yeah, we're not so different, you and I. Anyway, Sons of Sam, it's on Netflix now.
Cool. I got 2 picks. So I was off on vacation very recently. Thank you, everybody, for...
Didn't notice.
But a big through line, which I think I did recommend this right before I went, but a big through line was getting the MacBook Air, the new M1 MacBook Air. I used this like 90% of the time when I was off. The battery life is great, 6+ hours just watching videos or browsing the web. I could run Lightroom on it, so I was able to take some photos and get them edited. It was really cool to have a laptop, and I've had you know maybe 5 or 6 laptops over my lifetime, but like seriously not needing to think about it at all. Just like I will charge it when it tells me it's low, and maybe that'll happen once a day. I think it's pretty cool, and I didn't even get the Pro or even the nice 8-core thing. I just got the cheapest one. But I think that thing is really cool. In fact, I was able to get my other pick done, which was the Marbles project that I've talked about on After Things before. We have merchandise now available.
Yeah, where?
A lot of which I'm either like designed or took photos of and edited them on the MacBook, or like am fulfilling them with the MacBook. Like we have a sticker set.
Where do I get this, Bryce?
You can get these at marbles.win, marbles.win/store. And so like the sticker, like I've got a sticker pack here, and these are not on demand like the rest of the stuff is. Like I had to like, you know, get all this stuff and then get labels and ship them out and all that stuff. And running that all through, like being able to like not have to be tied to my desktop computer while I was also staying at home for a vacation was really freeing. It honestly was. Sitting outside a lot, moving around on the couch, on this chair, wherever, like just having kind of the freedom. I mean, this is all the same bullet points about laptops for the past 40 plus years now, but it's cool. You can just like be watching a video and take it with you into the kitchen and all that stuff. But yeah, so the MacBook Air and the apparel on marbles.win is new and really, really nice. Andrew, what is Andrew's like taking a photo of his
he's practicing his hunch for when he rides a recumbent bike.
I'm trying to see what size my shirt is.
Okay.
Because I'm buying some merchandise, okay?
But yeah, so those 2 things, the MacBook Air and the Marbles marbles. You can even look at some nice photos of me. My friend,
Oh.
my this was one of my like post-COVID things. Was like a buddy came over and shot these photos of me, and it was cool to just like hang out and
To be a model.
and you're like close to somebody and you have to kind of have a certain sync to it.
Yep.
It was pretty cool to not also have to worry about masks and stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
Just bought a shirt.
Oh, thank you. I have a new order from Andrew in Burbank.
That's me.
That's you. Hey, do you have a pick, Andrew?
My pick is this. I just finished listening to an audiobook that I thoroughly enjoyed. It is Liftoff by Eric Berger. He is a writer who's been writing about aerospace and has been covering SpaceX for a number of years. He wanted to write a book about the early days of SpaceX and sort of the pivotal point, primarily the Falcon 1 development, which is a really, really important story because of the miracles they pulled off and Elon being Elon, the reason things got done. Highly recommended. Eric Berger is a respected writer, and he was given full access to people at SpaceX to tell this story. And it is, there are a lot of Elon hate out there. And I'm like, I will not defend the craziness. I will not defend a lot of stuff. It is hard to read this book and not come away with the takeaway that there is something extraordinary that went on there because of the number of times when things seemed like from the Air Force refusing to ever, slow walking. I think my speaker just changed here. From the Air Force slow walking his asking for permission to launch the Falcon 1 at Edwards Air Force Base to literally they didn't want him to launch it, so they couldn't deny it, but they would just not approve it, and sitting there to having to figure out how to find other launch alternatives to the point at which he decided to sue NASA in order to fight NASA to get be able to apply for grants that weren't open to them. Like all of the uphill battles that were against them there were incredible. And the team of people, and it goes really into the team of people that work there, Gwen Shotwell, Hans Kunzelmeier, all these other people who work with them are exceptional people. And it's a really, really great story. So Liftoff, Elon Musk in the disparate early days that launched SpaceX. And it's not easy. It is not. There's a reason why Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin, which has more funding, has been around longer, hasn't reached orbit. There's a reason why it's so hard. It is so hard. And it takes a different weird personality to make this work.
And I remember following with you, Andrew, like these stories that were coming through like, Wired magazine back in the day, and they were harrowing. I can't imagine how detailed, being with the benefit of hindsight, with the benefit of being able to be honest because it was a success, that now you can probably be a little bit more on the nose of exactly how close to failure they were. And we had a pretty good idea of how close to failure they were back then. So I'm sure it's a great story.
Yeah, I mean, you get stories like flying the last Falcon 1 that they're able to put together, and the company's going to be bankrupt on a cargo plane. And all of a sudden hearing popping sounds as it starts to head down into Hawaii because of the preservation differential in there, and somebody having to climb inside to fix it. Putting the chemical starter they used to ignite rocket engines on Elon's private plane to fly it to someplace because like they can't get it there anywhere else, and the pilot being like, what happens if this catches on fire? And the SpaceX engineer's like, well, I'll be next to it. So either fly up really high, and so we take away all the air, or fly really low so I can throw it out the door.
Oh my God.
So it is an amazing story. And like, again, nobody has to like the guy's personality, but you look at the company he built and you look at what when you watch those rockets land, like in what alt future does that happen? And the people like the thing, and he will be the first to tell you the people that he's brought together. He brought these people from other companies, other people that were just as crazy and determined as he was to make stuff happen. And it's only like 8 or 9 hours. So it's, and it covers a particular area of time. The Ashley Vance biography on Elon Musk is still a must read, but this one by Eric Berger, Liftoff, is fantastic.
That's great.
Nice.
And did you just see this? Did you go back to the Amazon page, Bryce?
Yeah, absolutely.
this is this is important a book on space has ever been written, and it's a riveting page turner too. Who said that?
It's listed Homer Hickam.
Homer Hickam. Look up Homer Hickam. When you get a guy like that, and that's he was the guy the movie Rocket Boys was based on by his biography, one of the pioneers of early NASA space flight technologies and fuels and stuff. And so that it's great.
I mean, all I saw was 750 reviews and all 5 stars.
Yeah.
Like that's where I stopped watching.
Yeah. And it's highly recommended.
Cool.
Nice.
Any other picks? We all good?
We're good.
Gentlemen, it's good to have Bryce back. But it's a little weird.
Oh. I shot too early.
Wow. Look at that.
All right, we're gonna take.
Bryce, next time I'm putting one of these in you.
Oh.
Whoa!
I'm gonna get an alert that an AirTag is following me. All right, we're gonna take a few minutes here and get ready for After Things.
No, I'm good. Coffeeed
hello,
up.
everybody. Hello. Hey, Justin, how was your weekend?
Yo.
Good.
I I had my family in town.
Right.
So that was very nice.
Very nice. I loved seeing them.
Very nice. Then what did I do yesterday? Oh, just some stuff around the house. I'm just trying to better things a little bit.
Yeah. You're still in that phase where every part of your home is still like new homey. Like you need
Somebody wrote into the
into
show, the politics show, and said something that I've not been able to shake, and that is much like a presidency, moving into a house, you get your first 100 days. And
okay.
you have your first 100 days.
Sure.
And just like a presidency, the reason why it's special is because it's the absence of other things that are happening. And anything that is in your house after that first 100 days is just going to move. Not to say that it'll never change, but much like a presidency, it's going to go a lot slower because things have happened and some things will supersede it and blah, blah, blah. So it's like anything that we want, we need to get done kind of ASAP. And we had like a little, the last month really has been sort of like one guest after another as people have gotten vaccinated. And now we have space. And so we've had people stay and come over and everything. And so I'm looking forward to a nice little week where I can just get things done.
Yeah. That's the worst timing is to, well, I'm not going to lay a judgment, but it seems like it would be difficult timing to just move into a new home way ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
And then also start taking in guests.
Well,
and
the problem is,
family
look, it's like, yes, we have a new home. Also, we're in a new city.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the world is reopening. And we've had this traumatic year and a half where people are desperate to see other people. So it's not even just like, now, I mean, my mom and my brother came out largely because I haven't seen them in a year and a half and they can now fly out here a lot cheaper. Going from Orlando to Austin is a lot more manageable than going from Orlando to Oakland.
California, yeah.
So, that was something where they came in on like a Wednesday night, and then Eric left on Saturday morning and my mom left on Sunday morning. And it was like, oh, that's just an easy little trip, that can go back and forth.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for you, man. Your place is great. I went and saw it when I was guesting on your stream.
Yeah, which I would love to have you back on.
Definitely.
But yeah, I'm happy with where we're at. There's obviously a lot that I still kind of need to do, and also, you're trying to keep the content churning because the house got bought because the content was churning. So you gotta keep that going.
I love this, the person that called and told you the first 100 days of your house, because this sounds like alt universe Justin telling you this.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it is. I mean, to be fair, I do have a tremendous advantage in that if there's one thing that is great about having whatever internet fame that we have, the ability to just say like, hey, I think my air conditioning guy is ripping me off, and then just being besieged by opinions and hard numbers and people who work not only in the industry, but also in the industry locally, where I can like now vet that person's personality with other industry professionals, is like a huge benefit. And that is very good. All right, here, I'll be right back.
Yeah, go for it. Brian, how was your weekend?
Good. We man, it was fun to do an episode where there was an expert who knew a thing and we could just follow their lead. Like I was like,
we were shooting some Modern Rogue over the weekend.
Yeah. No, I had forgotten just how much more difficult things have been made of late.
Cool weekend then. Andrew, how was your weekend? Did anybody do anything fun?
I had Korean barbecue yesterday. Hung out with friends. That was fun.
There's a Korean barbecue place that just opened like less than a mile away from us. It just opened last week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I went to a bar last week.
What?
Ooh, yeah. I was visiting a friend in San Antonio, and we ended up getting some drinks, and it was cool. It was fine. I think this was last week, so it was before the full CDC thing on masks. But it was cool. Just being, we were seated outdoor. We sat ourselves outdoors, not specifically because of not wanting to be inside, but just because the service was really bad and they closed a bunch of stuff off and it was loud. It was very loud inside. That's what I don't like about a bar, is a loud bar where you can't talk to somebody.
Oh, that's interesting. To me, that feels like more dance club territory than bar territory. Usually I feel like most bars I go to, like a sports bar, like they'll have the game on loud, but you can still have a conversation. It's any place with like live music or whatever, where it's just like you gotta scream to hear each other.
This was a dive. This was not like a club or a sports bar or anything, and the inside was not very big. I mean, it was basically a trailer that they put walls around. But
what is this?
A bar. I went to a bar last week.
What?
I know.
What?
But there was only like 10 seats inside, and everywhere inside it was so loud it was impossible.
Yeah, man. Loud bars. Don't like them. Get out of here. PU, you stink, loud bars.
Andrew, you took a break, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, then we'll start after things here in a minute. I can talk about the stuff that I did while I was away. If that's interesting for the show. Anybody else has anything else going on?
Let's go with that.
Yep. I got a topic after that, but I want to hear what you've been up to.
Okay, cool. Actually, let me pull up a couple of things. But yeah, I don't know. It was an especially good time going to a bar and not thinking about it too much. Yeah.
Going for me.
Yeah, the auto gain kicked in, I guess. Woo!
They're onto us. They're giving away the good stuff on the internet.
All right.
I'll tell you what's weird about living in an apartment complex area is like we had a shooting 2 weeks ago and it's like nothing happened. And I'm in a nice area. It's not a bad area, but it's like they're shooting, but because it's like everybody's so insular and stuff that it's like, oh yeah, that
wait, a shooting like in the apartment or around your block?
And 3 apartment, like in Ava's the complex where I live in, so they have like 5 buildings, so like 3 buildings down.
What's funny is I have the reverse. Like we set up the security system here, and it plugged us into like the local, I guess, alternative to next door. But it's like security alerts.
Neighbor.
It's like somebody wearing a black T-shirt walked by my property, and it's like, here's the footage, and it's a guy just clearly walking past it, and they're like, anyone know what's up with this guy?
Yeah. No, although I will say that the citizen app alerts are a lot different in Austin than they were in Oakland. But if there's one thing is that more guns are pulled in domestic situations here in Austin than the like street fighting that tends to happen, or robberies that tended to happen in Oakland. It is a different variety. Anyway, this is my upbeat way that we start the week. I like to call this Happy Refresher by Justin Robert Gerbs.
All right, I think I'm ready here. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Ready.
All right, Andrew, I'm going to count you in then. In 3, 2.
Hello and welcome to After Things. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood.
Hello.
Mr. Justin Robert Young.
Hello.
And Mr. Bryce Castillo.
Hi, that's me. Hello.
This episode is called Bryce, What the Hell You Been Up to?
Yeah.
So
Where the hell you been?
Yeah, dude, it's been a month.
We've been waiting
We were all
here,
here.
and
We recorded 90 minutes once a week of nothing but where's Bryce?
Whenever Bryce isn't around,
all the characters
just
say
where's
Bryce?
So I ended up taking a month off since the guys are kind of working on retooling some of the Night Attack stuff. It ended up being a decent time for me to be away and let Corey and John take over some duties here. So you heard Corey on the Weird Things and the After Things program this past month. And I had a good vacation. I've had a very weird time answering that question.
How was your vacation?
How was your vacation? Yeah. Because it was good. It was a lot. It was many things, I guess is the
multifaceted.
It was many things. It was
a vacation with many faces.
It was rest and relaxation, but also a little bit of work. I found other stuff to do. So like I took on Andrew's advice. I'm like a third of the way into this Udemy course on JavaScript, which is great.
Oh wow!
The one from Jonas Schmetman, I think is really really good. I can do some stuff with JavaScript now. It's there's still a lot of finishing to do, but I am like a third of the way through that, and that's been really cool learning stuff. I like programming stuff and actually learning real tools has been like my tent pole for this time off. Is like, okay, the JavaScript thing is the nucleus, and if you want to go do anything, go do whatever for as long as you want, but you got to come back to the nucleus at some point. And so, I just want to relax today. Cool, you're going to come back to it, right? And that actually was really, really helpful because I will have a tendency to start projects and then have to kill them, which is always a tough thing to do. And so the thing I didn't want to do coming out of this month, when I knew I would have a month off, of okay, here's like 7 projects you have to maintain when you come back, and also the work stuff starts again. So it was a nice kind of centering thing. And then yeah.
Wait, for a second.
Was there a gift in the fact that you knew you only had so much totally free time, like where it's like, well, I better make the most of this while this gap is there?
Not with, say, the JavaScript thing. I mean, it certainly was very helpful to have a lot of mostly uninterrupted days to spend as much time as I wanted. But the best thing about knowing, okay, well, this is kind of a lengthy time, was for the rest and relaxation stuff and some of the soul searching stuff. Just like, okay, I need to like unwind and I need to rebalance and look at everything going on. So today, to kind of answer that question. Yeah, Andrew.
2 things. I'm very, very excited to hear that you've done that. What would you knew a little about coding before, stuff like this.
True.
But for people out there who look at like learning, and again, for experienced coders, it is an occupation like anything else. There's years of things to learn to become really proficient. But to go from knowing nothing to be able to do things and to understand how to find things out is, I think, a lot easier than people realize. And any words of encouragement to anybody about that?
Yeah, because by the time I settled on this JavaScript course, this was maybe the second or third programming language that I was just like testing the waters with, right? Like I'd done the Swift playgrounds before to learn the Apple Swift stuff. I spent a very frustrating day with Unity because Unity dumbs everything down too much, at least in their setup stuff. But I would say look for if you're going in and you don't know anything about code or whatever, look at a course like this one that is designed to be a 0 to expert or for someone to just starting off, because this course, at least this one specifically, did a really good job of like, hey, this is the program you need to use. This is how I've got it themed, so your thing looks exactly like mine. Here's how we're going to do it. Like, it was very, very comprehensive in getting you going from nothing to starting. And there's a lot of courses that are geared in that way. So like if you don't know anything about it, like do it, follow the instructions and follow the videos. Like this is mostly a video course. And so like, yeah, do the code as they're doing it. When you have a challenge that's like a homework segment, like do it, right? Spend an hour if you really don't know, do it, check your notes. And then once you get it, right? I had one last week where I was having trouble with it. Destructuring stuff is still not very intuitive to me. But what I did was I did it the way I would have done it to solve the problem, because there are a lot of ways to solve problems. And then I went and I looked at the answer sheet and I was like, oh, okay. So then I hand typed out his answer, and then I started over. I went and took a break and I came back. Okay, let's try again and let's solve it. And then you watch the video where he's explaining how he does every line specifically. Like you kind of have to be your own moderator in how much of the work that you're putting in, because you can just sit down and watch 60 hours of a dude talk about JavaScript, but you do have to like work through it. You have to put your time in clicking, typing all of the keys.
You got to figure out how much value you want to walk away with at the end of it.
Right. And knowing what is and isn't valid. The nice thing about this course also, like it's got basic fundamentals, and it's like, okay, here's the rest of the course you're about to do. If you want to learn everything, go and learn everything. Congrats. It's all in order for you. If you want to learn backend stuff, these are the things you should learn for backend. If you want to learn UI stuff, these are the things you should learn for UI stuff. If you're getting ready for a job interview, you need to look at these theory lessons, like very comprehensive. And I don't doubt that there are courses just like this for every type of Udemy type course out there. But
it sounds like you are a steadfast fan of the money that you spent on this one.
Oh, definitely. I paid full carriage price on this one. Yeah. And I think I've already gotten my money's worth out of it. And
wait, what did you pay for it?
I paid the list price of $170 because
really?
Because the way Udemy works is they time sales to you. They don't have like sales. I don't think that they have site, because after I bought this 2 weeks later, they were like 80% off whatever you want, dude. So I went and I got 2 more courses for like $20 each. But there can be a little bit of a price thing if you are not a first-time user to Udemy, because I bought Udemy courses in the past.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you can sometimes you get them for $20, sometimes not. But if you just take it and you want to do it, it doesn't matter. Like you said, you'll get your money's worth, whatever you pay out of it.
Definitely.
Illink wanted to know why JavaScript of all languages.
Part of it was because I'd been wanting to learn a little bit of coding, and actually Andrew and I talked a little bit. I was telling him, like, I don't know if I want to learn Swift or Unity or whatever, because I want to make stuff like I'm doing with the marbles, like marbles, the marble stuff that I've been doing, which I have a little update on. Some of the stuff that runs on that is like a fan, Crisco, who really loves it, was like, hey, I can do this and this and this and this really easy for you in Node.js, and which is awesome, and it's fantastic and it's great. but also I don't know what he did, and I want to build even more types of things like that. And so having a background, I've like, okay, I know that this can interface kind of with the Twitch chat, and I can build different things, and I'm not kind of beholden to hoping that this guy can keep making stuff for me. So and then you were pretty upfront of like, learn JavaScript is like as like a fundamental language, I guess.
Yeah, for anybody out there, the reason I say this is that the number of things that JavaScript does increases considerably. You can create browser applications in JavaScript. If you go to Node, which is just a framework to use JavaScript or library, Node is build server stuff. There's tensor.js, which means it's a machine learning thing for JavaScript. There are languages suited for other things. It's not the first language I learned, but by the time I got to JavaScript and where JavaScript had evolved to, I'm like, oh, if you're going to start with one language, I'm like, start with JavaScript, because you'll be able to do so many different things, back end, front end, all over the place. If you want to do something really specific, like, oh, I just want to do AI, like, we'll go to Python. But I'm like, really, JavaScript, if you're trying to figure out what you want to do, then you'll go, oh, well, I want to make applications for devices. Then maybe you'll go learn Swift, or you'll learn Java, or you'll learn, Dart or something. But it's a great place to start with, because all roads lead to JavaScript.
Yeah, I did not realize how ingrained it was into web development. I kind of always assumed, because I didn't really know a lot about JavaScript, so I always assumed it was part of Java, which is kind of its own clunky thing. And so I was like, well, but you take this course, and he's like, here's the Venn diagram of stuff. There's HTML and CSS and JavaScript, and they are all the same size, and they are all such a fundamental part of web development. So it's been cool doing that. And then the other update was right before I took time off, the League of Fun Games Marbles Season 1 had not yet finished, so we finished that off, and now we are in what I'm calling summer training. Where now we are doing marbles every other Friday, which kind of accomplishes two things. It spaces out the time between us doing it, and it gives me time to work on what the next LFG project might be. And it kind of keeps people warm a little bit while we kind of figure out if there's anything I want to retool for the next season later this year. And so I'm glad that I think it went great. Finishing off the season, we sent people we sent people sticker packs and pins and actual marbles, and then we actually launched merchandise for marbles, which is cool. My only bummer is that these have been on the store for like 3 weeks after the big finale was. And so now that we're doing the summer, we're not having as many people watching.
Yeah, but that's something where that's always going to be there. It's not. I mean, a lot of that stuff is that's a marble inspired logo, but other than that, it's LFG stuff. So that'll always be there, and I think that's one of those things that will dominate when you're first getting started on stuff, is that idea of like, oh, I'm doing it too late, or I should have had it there,
right.
or and that is true. You could have had it done before, but there's the old adage that the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, and the second best time is right now. And it's like the more you're focused on just getting the next thing done, and the next thing done, and the next thing done, that's all that really matters.
Yeah. And so I'm figuring out what the next project is and when the next marbles thing is. But I'm sure we'll talk about more of that stuff.
I'm sure
another time. Yeah. And so that was, I don't know, 80-90% of my time.
That's productive, man. That's a lot of really good stuff. And I know that, I'm very much a believer that you want to keep your mind active even on vacation. Like, and I don't know how much of that is my own ADD, like rise and grind kind of thing. But like, I don't do well with a quiet, a too quiet mind. I need, even if it's just for recreation, I got to have some kind of thing that I'm focusing on. So I'm happy that with your time off, you spend a lot of time working on yourself.
Yeah, that was between that and my body naturally moving into a circadian rhythm, um, um, was good. Was good because there was definitely times when I was like, well, what do I do now? I don't have anything to do. But that's what having the nucleus helps for. Is like, okay, well then you can spend 20 minutes watching another video or
right. It's that gravitational well where it's like wherever you find yourself out in the weeds, it's like you know where to go back to if you have free time.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, God, the regular sleep pattern and schedule has done wonders for my ability to get things done.
I did not intend for it to be this way, but I now wake up at like 7 o'clock every day. I think it might be because I get a weather like summary at that time, and so maybe my body's like,
join me at 5:55. 5:55. That's when the real kings wake up.
I'll just say that for the past month while I was away, my alarm clock was never correct. It was correct when I needed to go to San Antonio for the shot or
wait. Otherwise, were you just like funhouse mirroring it to keep yourself on your toes, or
no? It's just I didn't have any need to change it, and it's such a small thing. Like
like it was never change from like daylight savings time and stuff.
It would never be right because I would always be awake.
Right, he would naturally wake up before his alarm went off every single day.
Okay, gotcha.
Which was cool. That was kind of a fun thing.
I'll tell you what. On that productivity note, like, you know, it's been we've kind of talked about the detoxing of giving up life on the road for which was, you know, lived in 4-hour increments constantly with interrupted sleep to go to the airport or set up or do whatever when you're exhausted or whatever. And to fully give yourself over to natural sleep patterns has taken me a long time. But now it's like, I'd say 50-50. I go to bed before the kids. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing is to have that wave of fatigue and just give yourself over to it and be all like, yeah, you know what? It's 9:30. That's okay. Good night. And then suddenly you're up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed right around, you know, 7:30. And
that's been a difficult thing for me, has been waking up earlier, but not always going to bed earlier.
Oh, yeah. No.
You know, I mean, there's some days where it's like 10 o'clock, you feel, especially when you've gotten something done. But there's still some 2, 3 a.m. days in there.
Yeah, that was, you know, with my family in town, I was up until like 1 o'clock.
Ooh.
I'm just like, but I still got to be up.
But it's a different energy at night. Different energy.
Yeah.
So that was my update. Cool.
Andrew, you said you had some stuff you wanted to go over.
You know, I read an article on Reddit that talked about, there was a link to it, and it was about like, there's no money in publishing, or like, and it was sort of this sort of kind of like down on like the problem in the publishing industry or people trying to get books made, et cetera. And what a lot of what they said wasn't really inaccurate, you know, about that. But, and I can't be like, well, hey, I did great. But the thing that I realized though, is that a lot of times people pursue an endeavor that they know they want to make money from, but they don't know how to make it into a business, and they don't understand the business of it. And that was the thing when I read this, was sort of like it was this very pessimistic sort of thing, but it was also a person like, I wrote a book and I only made so much money from the book, even though the publisher sold this many. And it was like, yeah, you didn't have a business plan.
Yeah.
You know, you did a thing that sold okay. And then you're like, why? And it's like, and that's the thing I would implore people to think about is that you have to sort of step back and say, what do you do? And we've all done this. I think everybody on here sort of step back and say, okay, if I'm an author, like this was a person I think was actually teaching a book on coding. It's like, okay, you put out a book on coding, and then you're like, well, I didn't make that much money. And it's like, well, could you put together a video course, you know, companion video course that would have gone for like, you know, $200 to go with this? What are other things you could have done to build this into a business? And I would say that anybody who's thinking about, and if you just say, I just want to write books, it's like, great, you need to have a pipeline. Well, one book comes out. Yeah, and the next book comes out and sells the other one. Oh, sorry, Brian.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's like, it's so fascinating to me how much this tracks to different versions of the same conversation we've had so many times, which is the fantasy of every artist is that they get to just make art and somebody else handles the business. It is a lie, and you must divorce yourself from that immediately. Every magician wants to believe that they could just make a good magic show and their agent will take care of getting them booked and filling up their schedule and all that stuff. No, agents are order takers. They don't push your stuff on anyone. They wait for the phone to ring, and when the phone rings and they say we want to book Andrew Mayne, they'll book Andrew Mayne. Same thing, I assume, or my experience with publishers is they're order takers. It's like, hey man, that's a great book. We'll put a fine cover on it. We're gonna put it out in these markets, and you do that thing where it just becomes real popular. I don't know, it's such a seductive fallacy. I understand why everybody is tempted by it, but personally, that's my earliest advice to everybody is to don't believe that fantasy.
Well, I think
Yeah.
also it's partly just understanding the business of things, and that's something that I think is kind of lacking. Is there is a business to all of these industries, and they're all distinct, and they all have their different ways and quirks of how they work, and they're all evolving. It's a different business to make YouTube videos. It's a different business to sell books, and that even that process has changed a lot from when Andrew first started to now. There are subtle differences and changes of how things would go, and certainly for podcasting, it's easier now to make money, but there's more competition, and you should probably learn these lessons that we kind of learned as things evolved. But if you want to believe in the idea that all I need to do is make good things and everything else falls into line, not only is it not true, but it risks you damaging the central fuel source of all creativity, and that's your faith in yourself to do it. Because if you launch something and it doesn't hit like you want it to hit, then now you blame yourself. Now you blame, well, my art wasn't good, and that might affect the natural progression and evolution of continuing to make things better and faster and learning these kinds of lessons. And a lot of it, I think, is helped by the idea of realizing, like, okay, if you want to make money on it, even if it's just as a hobby, even if it's just as a side hustle, realize how people think about, put time and effort into realizing how that goes. Because boy, when the easy money comes to you, that might be the worst way that you could get into it, because now you don't realize exactly why that money's coming in, and you won't realize when it's going to leave. And then you're going to be real pissed off.
And I mean, this is tell me if this tracks with everybody, but this seems to be kind of a holdover from, I guess, the digital revolution, right? Like you no longer need a big bank of money to get a book printed, especially when there are sites that you can just go do that for free. So, and it's the same thing with music, right? You don't need a big bank of money to go get CDs recorded and printed. And that's where we're starting to see self-publishing take a more, front and center approach, especially to new creative professionals as they are trying to navigate the waters. And it's a trade-off of work and money in some cases, but we've found there are cheaper options, and when the thing you used to be was a bank, right? There's not as much need for a publisher because there are not as many synergies once you get rid of also we have a lot of money, so it's very cheap for us to print stuff.
Yeah.
I think that, like, to Brian's point, everybody's point, like, the more you think along the lines of, I'm building a business, how will this do? What's the revenue I can expect this? And how do I build upon each thing? The beauty of putting out a YouTube video is you put out another video. People discover the early one, then they discover the new one. The same with the books, the same with other kinds of content, is that growth. It's not like I made a thing and now I'm making, $300K a year. It's like maybe I make 10K. And then 20, and then it goes down, but then you build up over time. And like any other business, there's growth to it. So plan a business. I watch this. We watch this with people in Magic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm having trouble. I just told people I'm doing shows. I'm trying to build bookings. Like, how many people are coming back to you? It's the same as a book.
Yeah.
Did the people read my last book want to read my new book? the people who watched my last show, are they telling their friends they got to hire me because they want to see me again?
Or are they asking you, like, do you have another show that's different that we can bring you back next year for the holiday banquet?
Yeah, that's less sucky, Brian. Like, really, we like you, but no, exactly. That's how you know is that kind of traction. It's hard, and people give up. Part of success, it's like 98% of it is just waiting for everybody else to give up.
Yeah. No, I mean that's I love that adage, like 80% of success is showing up, because it is true and it is real, and boy does it seem ridiculous at the time that you are starting, but you realize as people sort of fall away for various different reasons that that's absolutely true, and that's true with the things that you stick with, and sometimes you try new things and then you're like, man, don't have the time, and it kind of drops away, and you realize, oh, this is the process of life. This is the process specifically in an era where content is, if not hilariously cheap to the consumer, then free, and you have a lot of competition, then that schedule, that effort, boy, is that the lesson of our time.
Yep.
Hey man, I got a pick if you're into it.
Yeah.
We talked about Rory Sutherland's book Alchemy a while ago. It's one of our favorites. I was really pleased that Andrew seemed to enjoy it. He's got a new one that is less of an audiobook, and it took me a while to figure out what was happening. I was like, these are like audio essays. These are like short stories. And I found out that what it is, his new one, Hacking the Unconscious, is a collection of 2 seasons of shorts that he did for the BBC. So as a result, instead of, just reading a quote from somebody, you hear the actual quote from them. In Radiolab style, you have different places and thoughts and all that stuff. And he uses the same shorthand as he does in Alchemy, talking about how sometimes it's better to shift expectations than to actually shift the reality. But it's very, very good. I liked it quite a bit. It's not, if you've not read Alchemy yet, go read Alchemy first. But if you've already read Alchemy and you want sort of an awesome refresher on a lot of things in a new format, I liked it quite a bit. It was very good.
Excellent.
Nice. I got a pick. I'm going to double down on what I mentioned earlier. The complete JavaScript course 2021 : From Zero to Expert from Jonas Schmetman it's fantastic. I mean, I paid $170 for it, and it is well worth that and then some. And it's definitely a complete total beginner's guide. You don't have to know. You have to know how to turn your computer on and download Visual Studio. Like that's the only thing you need to walk in with knowing.
And just to add, like, again, to people who be like, Visual Studio, turn my computer. I mean, you probably have to turn the computer on. You'll go, dude, these courses are fantastic because they assume you know nothing. They assume that you're drooling at the mouth, that you just came in on a brontosaur. And,
that you only have 1 month off from your job as producer.
Yeah. Or, and working at, for Mr. Slade, at the rock quarry. And they are great at getting you started. And also you get kind of the false confidence of like, oh my God, I'm a hacker now. And it's like, well, then you talk to people who do this for a living and you're like, oh, so much I don't know.
Baby.
But, yeah, but you understand though, like, how to Stack Overflow. Why that will become the most important thing in your life.
I mean, he has a section on that. Like, hey, if you don't know a problem, here are places you can look for the answer. Like, it's not just the coding. It is a lot of the stuff around it exactly like that. It's problem solving mentality. Like, it's really fantastic. He gives you also the other really nice thing I like about this is apparently JavaScript updates every year now, it seems. Mm-hmm. And so this course, I think, came out in October. And so as I've been going through it, I can actually see where he has updated the course with more information and more timely information. So for whatever reason, I was doing one section and then I came up to more examples of this type of thing. And he's like, hey, we've updated this. here is some of the code. Here's some new updated code for 2021. And so you also get a sense of like, it's not just, pre ES6 old JavaScript. You're actually learning current modern JavaScript that it gets updated, which it's really good. It really feels like, oh, okay, I'm not reading some 20-year-old HTML book. I'm actually like kind of in the know, at least what modern contemporary stuff is. So I've got the link in the show notes, but I think this is a great course.
Cool.
My pick is going to see the bats fly in Austin.
Yeah,
I finally did it with my family. It's a fun little tourist thing. There were a bunch of people out there, and I can't wait to go again. Because I really need to I need to do it on a kayak when you're on the water.
Ooh.
As Brian has said that's the way to do it, and I, having now seen it, I am in agreement that it is cool watching them fly out from under you, but boy howdy would it be cool if they flew out from over.
Take an umbrella.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Gotta poop.
Yeah, I guess. So.
What's funny is I get tweets sometimes of people saying, "Hey, I'm coming to Austin. What's a non-touristy thing that I must do?" And I'm like, I don't care how touristy it is. Go see the freaking bats, because that is truly a thing.
It also, like, it's Austin. It's not Manhattan. It's not like, well, our version of Cats isn't as good as what they first did in
However,
London,
alphabetically, it does come first. Barely.
Yeah, I'm like, Austin, like, go do the tourist stuff, because it's like awesome tourist stuff.
Yeah, right. Hop on a pedicab and have them pedal you over, then run down, hop in a little paddle boat swan,
Right.
Yeah.
paddle underneath.
Take that to the bike stop where everyone's on the group bike drinking, and they're doing.
That's right. On the pedal, they have these things where it's like everybody sits at a bar facing each other, and they all pedal, and that provides the energy that somebody steers around downtown as you all drink. It's amazing.
But yeah, so there we go.
Very
Fun.
cool.
This is my new gig as Austin tourist.
Austin Fun Guy.
Yeah, hey, I'm your fun guide for Austin.
Call me Austin Robert Young.
Yeah, that's my new name.
Andrew, you got a pick?
I just played with this. It's really cool. It is the Apple Tag.
Oh, the AirTags.
Yep. It is. What makes this cool is that, the idea of using sensing, there's been Tile out there and et cetera. But what Apple did, which is really clever, is this will use any other iPhone that's around it to sort of send a signal, encrypted, of course, to the network to tell you where it is. So,
that's good.
Yeah, someone put one of these like in a package, and they actually could track the package on an app, because
There's
just
so
needs,
many iPhones.
They're just it just needs an iPhone. These things are pretty neat. Where are you? I don't lose my keys enough to warrant one of these.
Not for my keys, for my luggage.
Brag
when I
about
travel.
it.
For my luggage.
For luggage. Oh, okay. That's smart. That's clever.
Yeah, Bryce.
Oh,
I
that's
know.
cool. I guess I haven't flown in a while, but certainly knowing exactly where. In fact,
Where's it coming?
that would have been a really great thing when Ashley first came in from Oakland. We had this big scare because they had taken her bags at the gate and said that they were going to come out the baggage claim. They didn't, and so now we're in this gigantic panic because there were very valuable things, and we didn't want that to get lost. I have known as a general rule, if you don't leave the airport with your bags, like staying there for as long as you need to get your bags, the likelihood that you're going to get them back tends to fall greatly as planes wind up being recirculated and blah, blah, blah. But that would have been huge to just have the ability to say, like, no, it's right here. Because that was one time I actually had an iPad that I'd left on a plane, and they were like, we have no idea where it is. And I'm like, but I do. And it is in your hangar where you keep planes that you aren't using right now. And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, indeed it is. And I just like showed them find my iPad thing. And I'm like, but it has 5% battery, so you need to get somebody out there immediately. And they did.
Wow.
There you go.
I probably shouldn't fall asleep with my iPad in the pocket.
Andrew, does it do the thing that the Ring devices do, which I really like, which is it's not my keys or my wallet that I lose, it's my phone, and you can press the thing, the card in your wallet, and it will make the phone do a chime in reverse, which I thought is pretty useful.
I mean, does this send in signal back?
Yeah. Like, are you able to find your phone?
Does it make a noise? Oh, does it find your phone?
Yeah. No. Like here, right now. See, these are my keys. Let's say I can't find my phone. I hold this down, and then whether it's on silent or not, there we go. Then the phone starts chiming.
Oh yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
I have that with the Apple Watch.
Oh
yeah, that's a thing. That's more of an Apple Watch or a.
Yeah. No, because
This is
this thing
simple.
is supposed to be where the lost things are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
If
is
you
what
put
this is
battery in it-
also. It goes both ways.
How often do you have to replace the battery on that, though?
I don't know. The last 2 years.
All right, that's cool. Yeah, this is, I mean, a dirt dumb $30,
Yeah. I guess I don't like. Yeah. I think that's not a. I at least, but the way that I understand that tag is it's more like the tile where you're just sticking it on stuff that you lose.
Yeah.
As opposed
What-
to you have it in your pocket. to
Brian,
hit a button.
the answer everybody is not saying is no. This does not have the
Thank you.
feature that Tile has.
Got it.
And so there you go.
Okay,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Oh,
Gotcha.
no. I mean, it's not a contest. I'm just trying to.
Wait.
I'm seeking
Because you said
understanding.
ring.
Did I say ring?
Yeah, you
I
said
meant
ring.
I meant tile.
Oh,
Sorry.
gotcha.
Sorry. Yeah. No, that's yeah.
Yeah,
But
this
they
is a
seem
bit
cool.
thinner. This is a lot smaller, too, than a...
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not in this. in the
Yours is
middle of
great,
this
Brian.
pissing
It's
contest.
great. It's great.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, gentlemen.
Hey.
It's been after.
Oh, sorry.
Here we
Sorry, I
go.
said the wrong word. Sorry, I said ring instead of tile. I didn't mean to make that twisty.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, like what cool ring is now? I'm in the Ringiverse. I'm like, ooh, I want to know
Oh
the
no,
cool ring hacks.
I'll tell you what, man. The Ringiverse.
It's a good show until then, Brian. It was a good show until then.
the Ringiverse, man. I'm glad to see you expanding into it. It's
Oh, we have.
there's
to.
lots of toys.
We're in the Bezos universe.
The Amazon system.
Yeah. So like, we couldn't. That and I don't trust Google to keep Nest around.
Yeah,
Like,
dude,
'cause
they
that- 'cause
lose
that's-
interest so fast.
Because that's the other big thing, and I'm like, I don't trust that you're not just gonna sell that off to Honeywell at some point and it'll just die on the vine.
Well,
so
I would say the good thing about the way Alphabet is structured is that Nest is not Google. Google is its own thing.
is it not?
Correct. It's all under. Look, I agree. I'm just saying
I'm-
if you're
I'm
buying if you're buying a multi-$100 thing in your home, it's not Google's.
All I would say about Alphabet structuring is that I think it was very telling that they eventually just gave up the ghost and the CEO of Google just became the CEO of Alphabet, because that is a company. I am skeptical of exactly how split apart that structure is.
Agreed. I agree with you. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for the Weird Things and After Things program. We'll
we
be
got
back
cord killers coming on up.
in a couple hours. So, everybody, thank you.
Okay.
Beep, 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 beep.